Hello P6, it's Tuesday and it's day 2 of our book week, and some of the things that you might like to think about doing today would include perhaps joining David Williams at 10:30 this morning for his amazing assembly. Now, if you would like to join in with that assembly this morning, you must follow the link that's on the screen. You won't be able to get into that assembly unless you follow the link. Other things that are happening today from 11:30, you'll be able to go onto our school YouTube channel and listen to some short stories that have been read by our teachers and classroom assistants. You might also want to start thinking about your entry for the Extreme Expression competition. And if you haven't already done so, why don't you send your teacher an email to get ready for our P6 Zoom meetings, which will be held on Thursday afternoon. Now, the other things that we're going to be thinking about today are our phonics. It's Tuesday, so we start looking at the sound for this week. The sound for this week is the U sound, and the U sound might be spelt with the letter U itself. It might be the letters U, then a space, then an E. It could be UE. There's lots of other ways to do it, but we would have words like accused, regular, statue. So those are words that use the U sound. Why don't you go and download this week's PowerPoints and then your words for sorting and have a think about that. Now, as we talked about yesterday, this week's main activities are all going to be based around a book called Mr. Skip by Michael Morpurgo. And I hope you joined us yesterday when we read chapter 1 and we had a go at some comprehension activities. Now, today I want you to go and join me as I read chapter 2. So when you click on the video, I'll be reading it with you, but you can also see all the words on the screen. So join me for chapter 2 to find out what happens to Jackie and to Mr. Skip. And then your main activity today is all going to be to do with speech marks and punctuation. Now, for your activity today, we're going to begin by adding some speech marks into sentences. In your first part, I have given you 7 sentences. This is the higher level task if you choose to do this one. So I've given you 7 sentences, and what I want you to do is add the speech marks in. Now, in order to do that, you need to think which words are the spoken words, and that's where you add your speech marks. So I would just get a highlighter, highlight the words that have been spoken, and then write them out and adding in the speech marks. Now, if you are doing the higher level task, your second part is a little bit trickier, because in the second part I've written out another part of the story, but I haven't included any punctuation apart from I've been kind and given you some apostrophes. But apart from that, I haven't given you any other punctuation. So what I would like you to do is read through this passage at the bottom of the page, ask yourself which words are being spoken, then on a separate page go and write this passage out and add in all the necessary capital letters, full stops, speech marks, question marks, commas, full stops, anything else that's needed. Again, it would be a good idea if you began by highlighting the spoken words. That would make things much easier. And don't forget, when a new person begins to speak, when we're writing a story, we take a new line. So I've taken a new line. You can see there are gaps. The gaps tell me when a new person, we're starting to think about a new person. So we take a new line at that point. That's the higher level task. If you choose to do the lower level task, then your activity looks like this. And on your page, you have got 12 sentences. And in each of your 12 sentences, again, you need to go and highlight the spoken words. And then on the line underneath or on a spare page, go and copy out the 12 sentences, adding in the speech marks, plus all of the other punctuation that you've already been given. So those are your written activities. Once you've listened to the story, then once you've done that, I want you to scroll on down to today's extension task. Now, when Michael Morpurgo was writing this book, he had to think, where am I going to set this story? What places will this story take place in? And he chose places that would be familiar to Jackie, our main character. So he chose places like the skip, the estate in which she lives, her school, the flat. When you go to write a story, it's up to you to choose where you think your story would happen. So today I would like you to think about a place that's very familiar to you. If you were to start writing a story, what would the setting for your story be? And I want you to use your senses. So I want you to think about, tell us where this story might happen. There's the picture of Jackie's estate, but where would your story happen? So might it be in a bedroom, a classroom, on the football pitch, in a dance studio, somewhere that you know really well. So where might you start your story? Tell us where exactly we would find this place. And then use your senses. What would you see in this place? What would you hear? What would you smell? Tell us what you see going on. What's happening in this place? And draw a quick sketch of it. If you're going to be an author, and we'll be writing more stories next week, but if you're going to be an author, you need to think about those settings. So your main activities today, P6, are your speech mark activities, plus also your settings activities. You've got your phonics to do, you've got your David Walliams assembly. Also, why don't you go and log into Bug Club and go and do some more reading for today. And if you've still got time, you've got Education City to go and have a look at, and maybe some more Play Live. Bye.